You should get and build Wang. Long answer. This entire video.
お前がドクターか。聞き及んでいる。兄弟たちの多数とすでに面識があるのならば、改めて多くを語る必要はあるまい。私のことはワンと呼べ。
Wang, unemployed. The second Sui proxy, and former military advisor of Yan. Currently he is aboard Rhodes Island to recuperate under the recommendations of his siblings. And occasionally helping Rhodes Island with tactical matters. Alright, Wang, one of the oldest NPC in the game has finally become playable. You already saw the short answer, he is basically another cheat code in this game. His abilities are so strong, easy to use, and brain dead, it makes Walter look like a balanced unit. And his presence is equivalent to placing cement on Dorothy's grave. Girl is never going to see the light of day. Well, I guess her skill 3 still pretty useful in reclamation algorithm. Anyway, let's see what makes him so strong. Wang is our third 6-star trap master specialist. They have a range and attack like a marksman sniper. But they can also deploy a trap anywhere on the map, as long as the tile is not prohibited, or there's an enemy on top. Oftentimes you also need to mind how many traps you deploy. The traps cost DP to be placed, which is only like 3 DP, but can be a problem in certain scenarios. And new traps can only be generated with skills, so yes, be mindful not to spam it mindlessly. On paper, Trap Master is definitely a rather complicated archetype to use. But you'll see just how easy to use, and game breaking this Chinese uncle is. Next, this is his general stats. He got a cheap cost, although his traps do cost DP. Lightning fast attack speed, average attack, and low defensive stats, like a typical range unit. Then his talent. His talent 1 determined how his trap works, and how many he can carry and deploy. In his case, each nearby trap can be linked, although this link will mostly make sense once you unlock talent 2. The other effect is that if you deploy a trap, another trap will be automatically placed right beside it. Now, this quote-unquote trap clone is very interesting and already rule-breaking. Because now each time you deploy his trap, you essentially deploy 2 traps. Also, this trap clone can actually spawn on a tile occupied by an enemy, and even actively target a tile with an enemy on it. Moreover, the trap clone can spawn on a prohibited tile. Needless to say, it's a very broken talent for a trap master. And if that's not enough, his traps can freaking hit flying enemies, doesn't matter the skill. The traps can also be deployed on ranged tiles. To either target those flying enemies, or to place the trap clone. By the way, if you want to place someone or something on a tile already occupied by Wang's trap clone, you don't need to retreat it, you can just straight up deploy anything on it, the game acts as if the tile is not occupied. Then his second talent. For every linked trap in a straight line, the activated trap will deal more damage to the enemy. What's even more crazy, it has some resistance ignore, up to a massive ignoring 30 resistance for 3 linked traps. This is one of Wang's main sources of damage. Thanks to this, he can easily make a dent against higher resistance bosses. And linking multiple traps is an easy thing to do, because his talent 1 will always deploy 2 traps, and even more in his skill 3, which we will talk soon. Moving on, this is his potential upgrade list. Wang actually got a great upgrade from his potential, which is not something you see every day. Besides the cost reduction and attack buff, it will enhance his talent 1, giving him more traps to store and deploy. And enhance talent 2, which gives him more additional damage and resistance ignore per link trap. He is overall already a cheat code without it, but he definitely got a noticeable upgrade from his potential. So if you somehow wanna make him even stronger, it's a worthy potential upgrade. As for module, he got the X module, which indirectly already affected his talent 1. This will reduce his trap cost by 1. Other than that, it also increases his HP and attack. Surprisingly, the upgrade doesn't target his talent 1, but his talent 2 instead. Nothing new, but it adds a valuable increase to the talent extra damage and resistance ignore. Yes, no doubt it's a recommended module. In a way it's nothing game changing, like a merchant specialist or chaincaster. But it makes his abilities stronger, and his drawbacks even more trivial. Now let's talk about his skills. He has a really good set of skills. Although his skill 1 is considered the least used, it is still a strong control skill, especially for only a single target. This skill will make his trap to inflict slow and arts dot for several seconds. Damage wise it's not his strongest skill, but with help of talent 2, it can deal a considerable amount of damage to a single enemy. Not to mention it's his only dot skill that can effectively counter hit count check enemies. The slow effect is also great, and thanks to his talent 1 trap clone, he can place his trap to a tile occupied by the enemy, so he can inflict slow to his target non-stop. By the way, like most trap master, the active effect of this skill will give him a new trap. But instead of 1 like the others, he gets 2. Next, skill 2 more or less works the same as skill 1. But instead of arts dot, it's an AoE damage that hits all enemies in range. And instead of slow, it reduces enemy movement speed. Technically different, but basically does the same. Damage wise this skill actually deals more damage per trap than his famous skill 3. Although with how it works, skill 3 is still favorable for damage. Skill 2 is typically the choice if you want to do crowd control with that movement reduction. Or maybe his skill 3 uptime becomes unbearable. Last but not least, his skill 3. Using this skill is equivalent to you controlling a tactical nuke with your own finger. It's a bit wordy, but basically, it makes his trap trigger area wider, so enemies don't have to physically touch the trap to trigger it. When you activate this skill, he will get some new traps, and any excess traps that don't get stored due to his limit, will be placed on his attack range. So upon skill activation, he can immediately summon multiple traps like this. Now the crazy part about this skill, you can place a trap right below the enemy's feet, if that enemy is inside the skill range. Literally erasing his trade restrictions. Additionally, more trap clones from his talent 1 will appear. So if the tile is available, you can have 4 traps at the same time. And absolutely shred the HP of enemies nearby. But each trap clone will consume his ammo. Yes, this skill uses ammo, but you typically will run out of traps first. Once it happens, the skill will automatically be over, and any remaining ammo will turn into a new trap. Overall an insane arts damage source, not to mention it technically has global range, and can be placed wherever you want. The only downside this skill has is its cost, but 50 SP is pretty mild for what this skill provides. Alright, for skill mastery priority. No doubt you should focus on his skill 3. It is most certainly the strongest arts damage skill in the game so far. Skill 3 is pretty much all you need for many content in this game. But a rare scenario might find more value in his skill 2. I personally also find the mastery gain more impactful. But of course more impactful gain doesn't mean it's better. Skill 1 is also a nice arts dot and slow effects skill, but oftentimes the argument of why you shouldn't bother with skill 1 is that it is easily replaceable. Well, of course if only you do have the replacement, so S1 is an option too. However, since 6-star mastery cost is expensive, and just how strong his S3 is, pretty much just focus on his skill 3, unless you do find specific use for his other skills. As for his base skills, skill 1 is unnecessarily wordy, but essentially, if the number of your trading post and power plant is equal, or more than your factory, then he will provide a trading post bonus. If your trade post and factory is lower, then he will give factory bonus. While skill 2 will make him speed up mastery training speed, for anyone who is training for mastery 3. So ladies and gentlemen, that is why you should get Wang. Another cheat code in this game. It is pretty funny how blatantly HG tries to make him the strongest unit in this game. In fact, he's so strong, some people might refuse to use him because it just feels like cheating. But of course you do you. Arknights is already a highly sandbox game as it is. You can choose to play with certain operators for extra difficulty, or just use the strongest unit available, like Wang right here. And I must say, having an easy win button like him is nice to have, if you need to finish the game as quickly as possible. So yes, basically no reason to skip him gameplay wise, for new players or perhaps veteran. Moreover, he is limited, which increases his value, and his debut is alongside Shen's second altar, making the banner even more worth it. That should be all. Adios.